So this video is a request that has come up several times from people asking me to cover who the Harbinger might be in Halo Infinite. The name comes up during the July campaign gameplay showcase which happened last year for Halo Infinite, where Escharum, who is the warlord of the banished army that you're fighting on Zeta Halo, he comes up in a cutscene and he actually says the sentence,
"The Harbinger and the Banished share the same goal. We fight together to honor the will of Atriarchs."
Who is the Harbinger? That's what we're going to discuss today. So grab a drink, relax back, I've got this. We'll take it from here. Alright, so the first one up here is the Warden Eternal. We know the Warden Eternal from Halo 5. If you haven't played Halo 5, he is effectively Cortana's right-hand man, robot, whatever he is, AI. Oh no, he's not an AI. No, he's been composed. So he's a previous Forerunner that was digitally composed. But he he's a candidate for this because he was constantly pushed back and held back by Cortana in Halo 5. Now, there could be an element or a sentiment of revenge after feeling betrayed by Cortana and her deep-seated relationship with John 117. He could decide enough is enough and go rogue and look to actually usurp Cortana as the leader of the Created, which are the new faction that came out in Halo 4. Now, he does have a hatred for humanity, and he did, before the whole Halo 5 series happened, wanted to abuse them as a tool for their own extinction. Now, the Guardians have obviously been activated by Cortana, so in terms of the Warden Eternal and the way he might act with Cortana now, she's kind of done her role, so it's a possibility that he might be like, well, what's the use to keep her around? The real question here, though, is do 343 Industries see the Warden as important? And I think that's the key thing here. I'm not so sure. Which leads on nicely to the next one, Cortana. Everyone thinks immediately this is the obvious line to continue the story of Halo 5. Cortana is the Harbinger. I kind of get it. However, there's a few things that could prove to be not necessarily difficult, but it would cause confusion if she was. The main one is that in the book Shadows of Reach, the Banished actually refer to Cortana as the Apparition, not the Harbinger. Now, there is a possibility, of course, that she might have multiple names. It's possible, but I can't see the story writers wanting to clutter and kind of put multiple names out for a single character. Cortana, the Apparition, the Harbinger. You know, there's lots and lots of names that could be in there, and it could confuse the player or the viewer when they're actually seeing all these names kind of spiral around and trying to keep track of who's who. But Cortana's a definite possibility. The next one up is Mendicant Bias. Now, Mendicant Bias, if you haven't followed the books or the lore, Mendicant Bias was an AI that was made by the Forerunners and eventually, and obviously this is a brief version, but eventually turned against his masters, the Forerunners, and joined the Flood after the Flood infected him and kind of gave him what was known as the Logic Plague and turned him against his creators. Now, Mendicant Bias was defeated by another AI that was created to fight him called Offensive Bias. Now, Mendicant Bias and Offensive Bias have the same setup as Cortana and the weapon. However, Mendicant Bias, there's a possibility of him returning. It's a long shot, but there is a possible connection due to the terminals that we find in Halo 3 that actually show that Mendicant Bias realised what he had done by joining the Flood and now wanted to atone and kind of help the Master Chief. So it is a possibility, and he might now be looking to take control of the situation again. But what happens between Cortana and the weapon is a direct correlation to what happens between Mendicant Bias and Offensive Bias. The next one is Castor. Now, Castor, you may or may not know him. If you've read Shadows of Reach, you've probably come across him. He is the leader of the Keepers of the One Freedom, who are a splinter faction of the Covenant, who are still adamant on continuing the great journey that the original Covenant started. Now, they did actually go through the portal in Shadows of Reach, so they are still around, and they are on the Ark as we speak. Could they be called the Harbinger? I mean, They do bring the kind of portents that come with being a Harbinger, but I'm not sure that that is quite what we would expect. It's a very long shot, in my opinion, with this one. Then we have the Didact. Now, this is a fairly strong one here. The Didact, we obviously met the Didact in Halo 4 when we unlocked him from his cryptum. However, he wasn't killed in Halo 4. He was simply sent through a slipspace portal. He ended up being teleported onto Installation 03, and he was found by a team called Team Black of Spartans, and he killed them. Team Black didn't report in, so Blue Team was sent to hunt down what was going on with Team Black, and they found out that the team had been killed. They ended up, in a summary fashion, they ended up confronting the Didact and not killing him, but by the end of it, John 117 actually said that he wasn't dead, he was, air quotes, contained, John 117. So what makes him a good choice for the Harbinger? First off, he hates humanity. Like, he can't stand them. He's probably be very good at manipulating the Banished for his own purpose, and he now knows as well that because Cortana have taken hold of the Created and she has control of the Prometheans, he can't rely on Prometheans because of Cortana. Could the Warden Eternal have maybe jumped from Cortana back to the Didact? Yes, definitely. That's a definite possibility. Now, the Harbinger, and this is another idea, the Harbinger might not be a person. It could possibly be, and this is not a bad idea here. The Harbinger could be another splinter group of the Covenant, similar to the Banished or the Keepers of the One Freedom, which we mentioned earlier with Castor, or even the Storm Covenant, which was Julam Dharma's splinter group, which came about after the fall of the original Covenant, and that's who we fought in Halo 4. It's a possibility. Now, when you look at the actual definition, or the term of the word Harbinger, it does bring about a few things. The quote for the Harbinger, the definition of a Harbinger is a person or thing that announces or signals the approach of another. So if you wanted a non-Halo reference to this, if any of you are Marvel fans and you know about the Silver Surfer, the Silver Surfer was a Harbinger. He was someone who went ahead, he was a herald, effectively, of Galactus. So that's just my kind of Marvel nerd out for a second there, but it's the same principle. So a Harbinger is a person or thing that announces or signals the approach of another, or, and this is the other definition, a forerunner of something. That's literally the wording, a forerunner of something. Now that second line makes me think that they knew exactly what they were doing when they chose the word Harbinger. I'm going to put my money on the Didact on this one. I think the Didact will be involved in Halo Infinite. I think we haven't seen the last of him. I think there's a distinct possibility we might be seeing the Didact. There is one other possibility. Nah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's one of the is it the Didact? Is it Castor, Mendicant Bias, Cortana, the Warden? Or is it maybe a combination? Maybe the Warden has joined the Didact and they're going to, together they are the Harbinger, the group, effectively. Or is it a Splinter faction of the Covenant, maybe, or someone entirely new? You tell me what you think. But I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a short one, but I got straight to the point with it. I hope you appreciate that. If you do, I'd love it if you hit the subscribe button, click like, tell me down below what you think, whether or not you agree with me. I love having conversations with everyone here. I don't mind the negative comments as well as the positive. I have a thick skin. But until next time, happy gaming.